Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Study with Nupur. So today I am going to teach you chapter Evolution. Now chapter Evolution is from your class 12th. Now this chapter is pretty much important from medical entrance exams point of view because this chapter holds about 12% of total weightage, which means roughly 6 questions will be asked and these 6 questions will cost you around 24 marks. So we can say it is a pretty important chapter. Now this chapter is also important from your CBSE point of view. So for better understanding of this whole chapter, because it is a very big chapter, I have divided the whole chapter into 10 lessons. So this is your lesson number 1. Okay. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss the overview of evolution. Now, I'm going to give you a brief idea about this chapter in the lesson number 1, which is your overview of evolution. How we are going to study it through different lessons. So let's start, but before we start, can anyone define what is evolution? Can any one of you? Okay, so write it down that evolution is unrolling and unfolding of nature that brings about an orderly change from one form or a condition to another, resulting in descendants becoming different from their ancestors. So you can say that the evolution is the law of nature. Now, can anyone explain what is evolutionary biology? Can any one of you explain it to me? Now, evolutionary biology, write it down that it is the study of history of development of newer forms of life from their pre-existing ones in various periods of time on Earth. Okay, so this is all about your evolution and evolutionary. Now, the chapter begins with the origin of life. So we'll be discussing the origin of life. Now, this is your lesson number 1. This is the overview lesson. Now, lesson number 2 will comprise of your origin of life, where I'll be discussing it in details and all the 5 theories. That is your theory of special creation, theory of catastrophism, theory of panspermia, theory of cosmozoic origin, and theory of spontaneous generation. These all 5 theories I'll be discussing in detail in the lesson number 2, which is your video number 2 or the next video. Okay. Now, then coming on to lesson number 3. What will comprise of your lesson number 3? Lesson number 3. Now, we'll be discussing about the modern hypothesis of origin of life, biogenesis, and biological evolution. Now, under biogenesis, we'll be studying about the different conducted in support of origin of life. Now, so in lesson number 3, I'll be teaching you all these 3 in details and with the help of diagrams so that you can understand them in pretty much better way. Okay. Now comes the evidences of evolution. So now this topic is very important. Please mark this topic. It is pretty much important topic, that is your evidence of evolution. Now this topic is very important and requires a depth study. So I have divided this whole topic into 2 different lessons. Okay. Now that will be your lesson number 4. So lesson number 4, we'll be studying about the evidences from paleontology and evidences from morphology and comparative anatomy. Their subtopics, which is types of fossils, determination of fossil age, then divergent, convergent, and adaptive. We'll be discussing them in detail. I'll be defining it and by giving an examples and how they are different from each other. Then in lesson number 5, we'll be discussing the rest, that is evidences, evidences from geographical isolation, evidences from connecting link, cytology and genetics. Okay. Now, coming on to modern theory of evolution. Now, this will make our lesson number 6. Now, it will solely be dedicated to these 4 theories. Okay, these 4 theories. Now, they are very much important. Like Lamarckism, it was given by Lamarck. It is also known as your law of inheritance or theory of inheritance. Evidence in support, we'll be studying about it. Its criticism and the arrival of new Lamarckism. Similarly, we'll be studying about Darwinism. I'll be defining it to you, explaining it to you. We'll be studying the evidences in support of Darwinism, its criticism, and the arrival of Neo-Darwinism. Okay, then coming on to the next one. Now, in lesson number 7, we'll be studying about the mutation theory. Lesson number 7. This will be from your lesson number 7. The De Vries mutation theory. It was given by Hugo De Vries. Then we'll study about the modern concept of evolution and mechanism of evolution. Now, in mechanism of evolution, we are going to study Hardy-Weinberg law and its significance. Okay. Now, it's very much important from your entrance exam point of view and CBSE also, because very mostly, or you can say majorly, questions are asked from this concept only. So after that, we come to human evolutionary trends and different types of evolution. Now, these are totally 2 different topics. This is a different topic and this is a different topic. So I have taken them as lesson number 8. So we'll be discussing about the human evolutionary trend and how the humans have evolved over the time, their evolution from the primitive form. Then we'll be discussing about the different types of evolution. You can see that there are 5 different types of evolution, like progressive evolution, parallel, divergent, convergent, and retrogressive evolution. I'll be defining it to you, stating you all the differences between them with the help of the examples. Okay. Then, speciation and isolation. These 2 topics will form our lesson number 9. Okay. Now, we'll be discussing about them in details. The speciation, their definitions, I'll be explaining it to you with the help of diagrams, how you can differentiate between all of them. Then isolation, how 2 breeding or the interbreeding species get isolated from each other in different ways and give rise to genetic modifications. So we'll be studying about the isolations and different types. Then, lesson number 10. In lesson number 10, I'll give you a brief account of evolution, and it will be a summary for you actually. Also, I'll give you brief account of time era of evolution. Then we'll be discussing few multiple choice questions, so you can assess yourself how much have you understood from the chapter so far. Okay, so this is all from the overview of evolution. So let's begin with our lesson number 2, that is the origin of life. You can find it out, or you can find the link, as I'll be stating the link in the end of the video. Okay, so thank you, and please do like, subscribe, and share the video.